On Wednesday, December 10th, 2025, Jenkins LTS 2.528.3 was released. On today's show, we're going to be taking a look at all the changes in that release. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Darin Pope, and along with me, I have Mark Waite. Mark, how are you doing?
Just great, Darin.
Good to see you again. It's been a month.
It has.
How was your Thanksgiving?
Delightful. We had all the family here. Okay, we had a big chunk of the family at the house, and that was the first time in many years. It was fun. How about you?
Now, how much? I'll get to me in just a minute. How much snow did you have?
Almost none, actually. So we had, I think we're actually dangerously dry right now in our area, and we're so dependent on water. So we've had 2 or 3 inches in the total for the whole, this entire winter so far. So we're hoping for more.
Well, down here in Texas, we haven't had any snow yet, thankfully. And I won't hurt my feelings any. My daughter and son-in-law came over, and we had pulled pork. And what else do we have? We had a couple other things. Very non-traditional Thanksgiving. Just the way it rolled this year. You probably don't want to hear us talking about snow and food. Actually, it sounds pretty good because it's almost dinner time. Here we are at the .3. The .3 is, again, typically a quiet release. This one is not any different. With a few twists. So, in case people don't understand this, okay, what are you talking about .3? Well, Mark, why don't you go and explain what the Jenkins LTS process is like?
Sure. So Jenkins every week releases a new version. That new version comes out like clockwork, week after week after week. But every 12 weeks, we choose a new baseline. And that baseline then receives a few backports and becomes .1. So 2.528.1. 4 weeks later, we release .2. 4 weeks after that, .3. And then 4 weeks later, start it all over again.
Now, it's funny you're saying 4 weeks. This is the one time of year where it's going to be different.
It is.
And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let's go ahead and just take a look at the release notes. Now, if you've never taken a look at the release notes before, go to jenkins.io. Go to download. Depending on how you have your browser, you may see a hamburger, you may not. Just go to download, and you'll see stable and weekly. We're going to go into the changelog for the stable. And for the .3, we can see that we actually have one security, which we'll deal with in a minute, and one bug fix. Let's talk about the bug fix first, because that seems to be the most boring out of these two.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, so the bug fix really is that we had a typo in one of the HTML files, one of the jelly files, and that typo caused us to lose 2 actions from the left-hand menu. These are not super common usage actions, but we don't like losing things. And so the typo's been fixed, and check file fingerprint is now available again, and project relationship. So file fingerprinting allows you to decide where is a build artifact used, and project relationship lets you see upstream versus downstream jobs.
That makes sense. And again, I took a look at that pull request because it was like, I think the keys were right next to each other is what it was on the keyboard. So it was like, it was a G and H or an F and G or something.
Right. It was like a 1 character difference. Yep. Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. Let's talk about the security fixes. And actually, before we do that, let's check the upgrade guide, because we're going to spend most of our time in the security advisory. Go to the upgrade guide, check for .3, and no notable changes, which is true but not true.
Yeah,
the reason I'm saying that is because we have a security advisory with this.
Right, but an upgrade guide typically will tell us you need to make these specific actions
bigger changes.
In upgrading.
These are
right,
yeah.
and the security things are, you need to install this. That's the action.
Without having to do anything extra.
Correct.
Upgrade guide might require something extra, or an upgrade guide item might be, here's just some more information that you need to understand what's going on.
Right.
Let's go and take a look at the security advisory. There was a few items in core, so the Jenkins core itself. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, the WAR file. Depending on how you get it, at the end of the day, there's always a WAR file.
Right.
Don't ever forget that. This is a Java application. There's always a WAR file. And then 5 different plugins. Let's focus on core first. Out of all of these, there was only one high, and it's this very first one. And even to me, this high didn't feel high. It felt like it was at the bottom end of high to me, because that's just me personally. That's
Right. Fair.
again security team classified it as a high, but to me it's like, oh, okay, I can justify as a high, but I've seen this type of thing in other projects. Those like, okay, these were mediums. They could have been wrong, but bottom line is it didn't properly close CLI connections. This had to be a very odd one to track down, because I don't know how you would. Because what would happen is in request handling threads waiting indefinitely. By the way, that's bad. Just in case you weren't
right.
sure
So
about
that's the denial of service, right? You
Correct.
just described the denial of service. If I can cause an unbounded number of threads, I can cause denial of service eventually just by overloading.
Yeah, and the key part of this, when the connection stream becomes corrupted,
Right.
like how do you corrupt a connection stream? That's
And obviously the vulnerability reporter found a way to do it, and the way that they did it, yeah. So
off it went, which is good. You should always close up your HTTP clients.
actually, and Darin, maybe there is something we should talk about here. When we're done with this, after we finish talking this, let's spend just a minute talking about the bug bounty program,
Good idea.
because it's a good theme to follow after we've talked these.
Yep. And this is the first time we've had a chance to talk about it.
Right.
So that's good. Missing permission check on password fields. That pretty much speaks for itself.
Well, but this one's fun because when you read the info box there, it says the security team's not aware of any plugin that could actively exploit this.
Right.
So you'd have to create your own custom plugin, comply with it, and then get that installed on the system. I can see why they only classified it medium.
Right.
Yeah.
And there is an override here, just in case you need to disable it for whatever reason.
Right.
But anyway, build authorization tokens stored and displayed in plain text. Again, we're still inside core. That's a big one. To me, that feels a little more warm than medium, but that's just me. Plain text in a config file is like,
Yeah.
but I understand. Again, I'm not questioning everybody at the security team. I'm not questioning you. But
right.
This one feels a little bit warmer to me.
Well, and I was fascinated by this one because the change has the old code allowed the user, the person who's configuring the job, to see the token on the job configuration page always.
Right.
The new implementation stores it as a secret and therefore hides that except on initial creation.
Right.
So it's switched to a more commonly used hide the token anytime except when you're initially creating it.
Right. Okay. CSRF vulnerability on the login form, low. Okay, that's easy, and that's all of the core ones.
Right.
So 5-ish, if I'm doing the math right. Can I remember how to count? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
OS command injection vulnerability on agents in Git client plugin, which this is near and dear to your heart.
It is near and dear to my heart. And this is a really kind of cool one. If you put the right name for the directory where you're storing your workspace, you could invoke, and the right form of authentication had to be used. There were several novel and cool things that you have to do in order to get this. But yeah, you could actually cause execution on the agent of your own code.
And that's bad, by the way.
Yeah, that's very bad.
That's
Right.
bad.
That's not good.
So that was patched
Now-
in 641, which
Right.
is. But now, how far back does 641 support? Do you remember? Since that was you.
2.504.3, I think.
Okay.
So they've got plenty of. This is not forcing them to upgrade their Jenkins controller if they say
That was my question.
I don't need any of the other 5 security fixes. Now, part of me says you need those security fixes because having the security warnings is not a good thing.
Yes, because once the security items have been published,
Right.
then it's, if people find, oh, you're using an older version, here's an easy way to
Right.
potentially.
You don't
rid
want to
it.
be exploited. That's for sure.
That's just bad. Okay. Coverage plugin, stored cross-site scripting vulnerability. It's been resolved. HashiCorp Vault plugin, exposure of system scope. We'll come back to that in a minute. Blaze meter, missing permission check, much like above.
Right. Exactly.
then path traversal in Redpin pipeline reporter for Jira. So, all this being said, here's all the affected versions.
Mm-hmm.
Here are the fixes, but note, if you are using the HashiCorp Vault plugin or using Redpin, which I'd never heard until I read the security advisory yesterday,
Right.
There's no fix.
Right.
So you've got to think, Now, to me, I don't know how many people are using Redpin, but I could see a lot of people potentially using Vault plugin.
Well, and what that really says, the story behind that is that says there's no maintainer that is willing to make the fix to that plugin, which means if you depend on that HashiCorp Vault plugin, you should consider asking your company to let you become a maintainer. It needs a maintainer. And that's the hint that, there's not an active enough maintainer to fix that vulnerability. Therefore, you could choose, if you say, hey, we're dependent on HashiCorp Vault plugin, consider having your company fund a maintainer for it.
Yeah. Now, let's go to the opposite side of that. Where do I go for that? Because do we have a blog post for the...
We do. Jenkins.io. Just look at the most recent blog post. Vadik provided one.
I did not check that this morning. So, blog and bug bounty program.
Right.
So this is through the Yes We Hack, which I'd never heard of before until I knew this came into existence.
Yeah,
for
okay.
us.
So wind back a little. It's funded by the European Commission.
By EU.
Right? So the EU is funding it. So
Interesting.
we're really pleased that the EU is
Thank you,
funding it.
taxpayers
Yes.
of EU. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you to the taxpayers of the European Union. Really, seriously, this is great. Yeah. And Yes We Hack. And I like that Yes We Hack is doing it because it means they're providing a front end that does some initial triage even before the bug reports reach the Jenkins security team.
Right.
So security researchers can get money for a good bug report to Jenkins core and a few plugins, and then the Jenkins project gets a little better vetted security bug reports through this channel because Yes We Hack does an initial triage.
Right. So the initial scope is just core and its main components and only 4 plugins related to security, right? That's it.
Correct. Yep.
So if somebody decided they wanted to do a Yes We Hack on the Git client plugin, sorry, that's not
Right.
scope.
That would not qualify for the bounty. Right.
Correct. Now, if you found a bug, please report it.
We want to know about it, but it doesn't qualify for the bounty.
Up to 5,000 euros for critical findings. Here's a platform. Let's pop it up real quick just so we can see it. Mm-hmm. And looks very much like any other profile type page.
Right.
And nothing's showing up right now other than right here. Let me zoom in just a little bit. 27 reports. First report was less than a day, if I'm reading that correctly. 2 reports in the last 24, 8 reports this week, 11 reports this month.
Which is really a great outcome.
Yeah.
This is wonderful that Yes We Hack and the European Commission are willing to help the Jenkins project.
Has there ever been a bug bounty program associated with the Jenkins project before?
There has been, and part of the reason we dropped it some time ago was because the hassles of administering the thing were more than we were wanting. Right. And thankfully now we've got help from Yes We Hack to administer it.
Right. And by the way, here's all the scopes. So core, stapler, which is the HTTP
web framework. Right,
yeah,
exactly.
The web framework.
The HTTP
Jelly
framework
is the scripting framework that runs inside of
page generator. Yep.
All that stuff. Windstone is it's an extension of Jetty, or it wraps Jetty.
Wraps Jetty, right?
Wraps Jetty.
Exactly, wraps Jetty.
And then the 4 plugins. So something associated with pipeline, workflow, credential binding, credentials, and script security.
Right.
So, and they're all classed as highs from an asset value perspective.
Yep.
This high does not map to this high because you could have a critical found
right.
any of these. So these are not equal.
Yeah, when I see that asset value high, I think, let's think about that. And I think those plugins are probably, I think all of them, or most of them at least, are installed in over 90% of Jenkins controllers.
Correct.
So 250,000 Jenkins controllers in the world, and 90% of them have script. In fact, 98 or 99% have script security.
Right. I could argue the same for credentials and credentials
Yes.
binding too. Workflow
Yeah.
CPS, I could argue not as many, but still high.
Interesting. And see, I would have said credentials binding is likely lower, but workflow CPS is really high. But that's fine.
Okay.
The reality is they are all very important plugins, and the
Correct.
security issue in one of those plugins matters deeply.
Yep. So, and now is this open to anybody in the world?
As far as I know, it is, right? There's no geographic limit that I'm aware of.
Yeah, let's see if there's any, let's see what activity, no activity yet. Let's see if there's, so we have scope on what can be included in findings.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do the reports. You got to do a video. That's nice. Since we're doing video here, I like video.
Right.
Reward eligibility. You must be first. Not breaking any testing policies. Must not be a maintainer. Fair enough. Must not be a member of the security team.
Right. Right.
It's not written down unless somebody had to write it down because something happened. So we'll just
You
leave
can
that there.
imagine that they've had issues in the past.
Not with our people.
No, but with programs like this, there are things you've got to be safe about.
And I'm reading this slowly just to see if there was. No, I do not see any. You must be a EU citizen.
Nope. No,
be part
and
of this.
I
Okay.
there's been no mention of it in any of my discussions with Vodek.
Okay. So, again, go and read the blog post. That will give you more details. And then you can follow right through to the Bug Bunny page on Yes We Hack. Is that it? Pretty much, Mark, you think?
That's it. Thanks, Darin.
So, we were talking about every 4 weeks earlier on. This is the one time a year that has happened for the past few years that it's actually going to be 6 weeks.
Right?
Why? Well, we have these holidays coming up in the next few weeks, and there are numerous of them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I list them all out, we'll be here for the next 10 minutes. So I'm not going to do that. But I will say a few of them as we go through here. The next show, so that means the next release date is currently January 21st.
Right.
And the reason why I say currently is things can happen, but that's the plan, which means we'll be back here on January 22nd, 2026. It doesn't seem possible. At 4:30 Eastern, the same
Right.
time basically we're at talking here. That will be the new .1. In fact, I believe the new baseline has already been picked. I believe it's 541,
Correct.
if I remember, which was this week's weekly, which just came out yesterday at the time we're
Right.
doing this, which was a fine thing. I will tell you, are the experiments coming forward in the LTS? All
They
the
are.
experiments?
So
Okay.
they'll still be experiments, so they're
Yes.
still off by default, but you can easily turn them on to see them.
So that will be one of the things. So we'll probably have a much longer show the next time because
Right.
I have been running my weekly controller with, I ran my weekly controller with all the experiments on for a while. And I was like, no, I need to turn this off because I found a few things that were just annoying to me. It's like, okay, I'll turn it off. And I need to turn it back on because it's been probably 3 weeks since I've turned it off. It visually is a very big change.
It is
Very big
absolutely.
change.
We'll have a lot to discuss in the next, and it's not being thrust on people, but it's available to them, and we recommend that they try it because you can guess that 3 months after that or 6 months after that, it will probably be the default that you have to turn it off in order to restore old behaviors. So this upcoming LTS is a good place for people to look and see, hey, how is my environment affected by this change?
And I'll go ahead and tease it just a little bit more. It's per user.
Right.
For turning the experiment. So if you as an administrator just want to turn it on, there is no way to magically turn it on for everybody yet, right? Eventually there will be a point to when it becomes the default. And then you may have to do overrides then. But, so it'd be like, oh, I want to make it for everybody. No way to do that. Not cleanly. Let's put it that way. There's always a way, but it's not a way you probably want to do. So that's it. We'll be back on January 22nd. Still doesn't feel right to say January. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. And all the other ones I am currently forgetting. Mark, Merry Christmas.
Enjoy your new year.
Please do.
Absolutely.
Everybody,
We're taking 2 weeks off at the end of the calendar year. We're going to enjoy ourselves.
Which means also, let's clarify that, there will be no weeklies coming out?
Yeah, I don't expect any.
Okay.
Last year we did not do
paused it.
weeklies during the
Right.
during the pause. Now we may get a different opinion because there are some folks who would really like to get some things into the weekly. So
Which is
we'll
fine.
see.
So there may be 2, there may be 0.
Right, don't know.
Don't know, and it could be. So if it was to pause, when would that pause start? Is not this coming Monday, but the Monday after?
No, yeah,
Or Tuesday,
definitely
whatever
not
it is.
this. So
This coming Tuesday, we definitely
this
have one
coming.
coming.
There will absolutely be a weekly release next week for sure.
Right. So then it's just the 23rd of December that it might not, and also the 30th of December might not.
Correct. Those would be the
Or-
candidate weeks.
Actually, it'd probably be the 30th and the...
No, 23rd
No, that'd
and
be
the
too late.
30th.
That'd be the first week. Okay.
Yeah, 23rd.
We're doing
and
date
the
math
30th.
live. It's one thing to do math live. It's a whole other thing to do
It's
date
even worse
math
to
live.
do date math, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Have a great holiday season, and we'll see you back in 6 weeks. Thanks, Mark.